travel for the future. They are not something. They are nothing to say, even for the travel. For the communist station workshops, Friday, they have to pay something. But if it is organized, for instance, when it is organized in France, French teacher has to pay something. But other teachers from Europe have also to pay something. But they can ask for money in their country, in the communist, European communist agency of their country. And normally they receive the grant. So it's free for them.
Okay, so I would like to introduce Susan Murabana, who is from Kenya. And she's going to be talking about astronomy in Africa. I think this is very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank so many people for making me get through the USA. Maybe give you a brief story about my process of coming to the US. I applied for the visa with a lot of help from Carl and Alan and was granted a visa. And then my passport got lost in between the embassy and the DHL office. For 3 weeks, I was waiting for my passport. Carl was getting frustrated. Has anyone ever seen Carl upset? I have. During the whole process of getting my visa, we had to try and call the embassy, and eventually found out that my passport had been in the DHL office all that while. So 3 weeks into that, I finally had a ticket to come to the United States of America for 4 months. Then I went to the airport. That whole day, Carl was keeping track of me. So, are you okay? Do you have your luggage? Do you have your passport? Do you have your visa? And I'm like, yeah, are you heading to the airport? Are you early? Yes. Then I get to the airport and I'm told I can't fly because apparently I needed a double Schengen visa because my flight was going to have 2 stops in Europe. So again, I called Carl and I'm like, unfortunately, I can't fly. It was a whole circus at the airport. Eventually, I made it to the States. So that was a long-awaited trip, and it took a lot of help, and so many people worked hard to get me here, and I really do appreciate that. That's the first story. The second story is just a brief introduction of who I am. I started my degree in economics, and while I was doing my degree in economics, I got involved with a group that did outreach in science generally. So I got really inspired and excited about working in schools. That was almost 10 years ago. And what we basically did was travel across Africa, teaching in schools and villages, working with teachers and students, very poor people from different backgrounds. And it was really powerful, getting lessons from students saying it changed their lives, just because you made them look at science or math in a different way, and being, at that time, a young science enthusiast, standing in front of a group of girls in a village, showing them that Africans and girls can actually like and enjoy science. So I got to meet Carl in 2006 in France during the GHOU meeting in 2006. Very little knowledge about astronomy. But because of my passion of science and Africa, I wanted to get involved with the project that GHOU family was already doing. And so I started with very little knowledge of what GHOU was all about. Talking too much. Yeah? So GHOU embraced Africa. By then we were two collaborators from Africa, myself and Hassan from Morocco. I often talk about Africa and HOU, forgetting that I'm not the only person doing activities for GHOU in Africa, because we always forget to communicate amongst each other. So then now I have a role to make sure that we keep up the communication and have more work as a continent, like EU HOU is doing, or like America HOU is doing. So from there, I'll try and give you a brief intro who we are as Africa Hands-on Universe, and a brief, not the full status of astronomy in Africa, but my perception of what I think the status of astronomy in Africa is. Africa, Hands-on Universe. Once I joined Carl and the group, I decided to register Hands-on Universe in Kenya with a lot of funding from the US through, I think, cont, LC, GHOU. So we finally got Hands-on Universe registered as an organization in Kenya. And our main aim is to promote science education amongst teachers and students and to bring in the different kind of techniques of learning in classrooms. So we are not just focused with Kenya. We want to reach out to the rest of Africa. We want to partner with organizations that are already doing outreach in astronomy, in science in Africa, with planetariums, with universities that want to go out to communities and work with students. We have many objectives here which slowly by slowly we're going to achieve. And one of my best objectives is the second one. We want to inspire and empower the new generation of science, technology and engineers professionals in Africa, including the empowerment of women. I believe that science can be used as a tool to promote sustainable development, and that's what Africa needs. Africa needs to develop from within, and I believe if we create more scientists engaging people in astronomy, for example, we can reach that. We can solve our own problems from within, and that's one of the reasons why I want to and strongly want to be part of a group that does outreach, because Africa really needs more scientists. We need scientists to stay in our continent because we have so many scientists who get trained and leave the continent and go to other places, and that's where we do not grow as a continent. Currently, right now, there is starvation in my country, in the northeastern part of Kenya and Somalia, which is one of the worst. And if we can create more scientists, I believe problems like those can be solved within and amongst ourselves. Why astronomy? Why do I go to school and talk to children about astronomy? First of all, I think it's a very good tool to use to get students engaged. It sparks curiosity. When you talk about a star, when you talk about the fact that the sun is eventually going to die, they wonder whether it's going to die tomorrow, next week, 2 weeks from now, and then you keep talking about it. When you talk about the scale of the universe, how initially we thought that the Earth was everything. It was flat, and science led us to learn that it was actually not flat, but round. And how we initially thought that everything went round the Earth, sorry. Then we realized no. Then we thought the solar system was the end of everything. We realized it was actually bigger than that. We had our galaxy. Then we thought that we were at the center of our galaxy because we always think we're special. And then we realized, no, we're actually one arm of the galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy. We realized we have many more galaxies, many more stars in our own galaxy. So with that scale, we know that the universe is really big. And what are the chances that we are not alone? Astronomy gives us a chance to be more scientists, to find out what we don't know. There's still so much we don't know. And that's what students in school can inspire and aspire to be. Scientists who want to find out what's out there, what else we need to know. How do we do our programs? We work directly with teachers. We try to introduce teachers to different activities that they can incorporate in their classrooms. Whether they incorporate them or not, it's a way for teachers to understand how to teach their modules in physics, in chemistry, in mathematics, in geography. And we also try to introduce, most of the teachers in Kenya, for example, where I've been working closely with them, are not very computer friendly. So by us getting them to use computers to do different activities, we get them more involved, more excited, and less computer shy. I've been having discussions with Rosa, especially how about why it's necessary for us to promote the idea that Galileo Teacher Training Program is not just a program that focuses on new technologies that are computer-based, but also activities that are hands-on. Because then that's where we're able to introduce so many other teachers in schools and in places without electricity. I'm not saying that Africa is a continent without computers and electricity. No, it's not. It's a continent which has everything being thrown at it all of a sudden. We've just introduced astronomy in the continent, and we have all these nice programs that are ready for us. But at the same time, there's a huge gap. There are places that are willing and ready to absorb all these activities, but a good part of Africa is not yet ready for this. So I believe my role is to try and make sure we use both what we have in both places, in the places where we don't have resources and in the places where we have resources. So other than that, we also engage our students in hands-on universe activities. Students, the ones I've normally worked with, I believe, are very inquisitive. If you first introduce them to a computer and show them a program like Stellarium, the next time you go and check what they're doing, they're far ahead of you. They've already clicked and tried stuff and even tried to ask you questions of what they've already tried, and when you're not able to answer, they'll always get back to you with answers. So most of the activities we do with HOU are very good activities for students, and they have worked in the schools I've gone to in Kenya. And then, because astronomy has not had a lot of outreach, only until International Year of Astronomy in Africa, I also still try to engage the public in astronomy-related events. So we try to have teacher training workshops, and as much as we want to do hands-on activities, we still try to entice the teachers with computer-based activities, hoping that one day they'll go to their classrooms when everything changes and use these activities in their classrooms. Everything like the government introducing computer-based learning in classrooms, that hasn't yet happened in Kenya, but there's talk of it, of the government starting to promote computer-based activities. So we hope by the time the government does that, our teachers will be ahead and they'll be able to do some of these activities in the classroom. So I can see Rosa is smiling. So we have trained them on some. I've not yet trained the teachers on accessing automated telescopes, but we've trained them on using, I have a 4-inch telescope that I have to basically normally try to look at the moon with it, because for me, it's an easy object to get people excited with, and it's not very hard to find. And we've tried to do that with teachers. We have astronomy exercises and cross-disciplinary resources. We also have tried a little bit of Dr. J with the teachers and introduced Stellarium, all the planetarium software. In 2007, we were lucky to have Rich Norman train the teachers via internet. And I still have the pressure of the teachers still want to have more sessions like that. So we still need to organize, and Rich has been kind to help me develop other hands-on activities. It's also very powerful for teachers to be able to communicate with teachers or educators via any kind of method, because that way they're able to share experiences they've had in different areas. As much as I try to connect students, I feel like it's also a very good way to connect teachers and to share ideas, because as peers, as teachers in their different careers, I think they're able to share and discuss different topics together. So it's a free kind of exchange. But what we want to focus on is partnerships with CIMASTE, which is a government-owned organization that does training for science and math teachers every year. So the funding is provided by the government, and I'd like to introduce our program to be accepted or incorporated into such a program, because then we're talking about many teachers in the country. And find out across Africa if there are any other organizations like this which we can introduce our programs to. So once we have all our resources within GTCP website, it will be easy to have that. We also engage students through different programs. So far, my pilot schools have been high schools, but that doesn't mean we don't go back to elementary schools and work with them. On the top picture there, I had trained a few teachers in Zambia, and after that we went back to a school in Zambia. I'd gone there for a conference and used part of our free time to work with the students to do that. And one of the girls there, Melody, she's in the picture and she's down here, I think has been in communication with Rosa to promote the GTP session. And I can assure you, Rosa, that would be a good person. It's about time we move forward with people like those. So other than that, amongst the students, we have what I've done with the schools is developed an after-school program. So we go to the schools at 4 o'clock after the learning session for the day is over, and have a weekly club meeting and have different activities with them. Now when I go there, they're the ones who set up the telescopes and do the stellarium and invite students from other classes to attend as staff assist the ones. I've made the program more of their own than mine because I want it to be sustainable. So once they have ownership of the program, they're able to do what they want and enjoy it. So we have a mentor program where we get high school students, like in this picture, go back to primary schools and teach the primary school kids basic astronomy. They teach them. What I did with the program was, rather than give them what I thought, I encouraged them with a few ideas, and then they set themselves in different groups. I went and talked to students about school, work, and everything, but also included extracurricular activities. So one of the girls danced for the students who got really excited. Questions like, as much as you want to read hard and everything, you have to enjoy life, dance, or play football, and all this makes him more rounded and everything. It was really exciting to see that the students are taking ownership. One of the things I'm working with, which is Kenya High School, is an all-girls boarding national school. So it has representation of students from all over the country who are the best performers, not from wealthy backgrounds, but gifted students who work really hard to get to good schools. And the school has good resources, and they're very intelligent young minds who aspire to be doctors, lawyers, and all these other good professions. And they also want to share this. So by then going to this primary school near the location, they try to encourage the students, of which most of the girls aim at going to Kenya High. So I think it's a very good model to develop with other schools that will target in Africa. So this is just a few pictures of this Kenya High School. They have a network of 70 computers that are connected to the internet. This is a competition we had and invited other schools into the program. This is a school in Nairobi called Starehe. Below there, this is Nairobi School. Initially, when we started the program, we started with only one school, Kenya High School, and then at some point, every time I gave a presentation in Kenya, I was crucified by the men. They're like, why aren't you going to the boys' school? So I had to start doing something with the boys because astronomy is young, as I said, and we've just introduced, it's not the second year, a Bachelor of Science degree program in astronomy, and it's only 2 years now. So as a profession, it's really young, and really I have a huge responsibility. I'm not targeting one group of students. I have to target girls, boys, wealthy schools, poor schools, everywhere. So I feel like I need to make many students like this go as much as out there as we need. So when I got the boys' class, the teacher was really worried because he thought that there was a good mix of naughty students and very intelligent students. And he wondered how I was going to handle the class. So he asked me if I wanted him to get rid of the naughty students, but I imagined how I'd feel in high school wanting to join a club and not being able to join because of one reason or another. So I told him, no, I'll just deal with the class as is. So 2 weeks into our program, I get a call from the teacher and he's like, the students have really changed. They're really, busy and doing a lot of good work. And apparently they had organized, which is not an education program, but they had organized a fundraiser for one of the teachers who was ailing from cancer. Unfortunately, the teacher died, but that was, something really that the naughty students got really involved in. And now we're no longer branded as naughty students. So we have a program, Universal Awareness, where we target young disadvantaged children. Universal Awareness was one of the cornerstone projects of International Year of Astronomy and had many countries in Africa involved. Basically, here we went to a non-informal school. Most of the children here are HIV positive and are waiting for donors to get them to formal school. So we demonstrated different planets and stuff like that. We gave them clay and paint and the molded planets as they understood them in different scales. So we also have fun in the classroom. We've had public talks at the University of Nairobi and other universities. That's the telescope I got donated. And this friend looking through the telescope and discussing. The guy there is my brother, who's now computer scientist, but had a degree in physics. And when you look through the telescope, he started talking about dark energy and dark matter. And that's what astronomy does. It just takes you elsewhere, makes you think about science and stuff like that. This year again, I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Nairobi, and we held a star party with over 80 people who attended the event. Basically, we had the telescope out in the open. I had Stellarium in the open on a screen and used it and also demonstrated different stars in the sky, and it was really interesting. But we had one of the local newspapers, the Star newspaper. It happened that everything was so starry that day, and they covered the event, not very clear, but if you want, they can share the article with you later. We have collaborations with other organizations like Cosmos Education. We try and visit different communities. Here, during post-election violence, we went to an internally displaced camp and worked with young kids. It was really tough because some of these kids had seen their parents being killed or chased out of their houses, and we just had to adapt and try to teach when they wanted to learn and then play with some of them. And it was a varied group of students. So then we have collaboration with Kenyan universities. I've given a lot of talks and demonstrations, especially on Pulsar J, at the Nairobi University, which now offers astronomy. We try to partner with universities and work with the young minds to see if there are any who would like to go back into their communities and work with students there as well. That's our professor. And down there is me and a few of the university students for the public talk at Kenya High School. We're going to give a talk to the students. Upcoming events, we know we're going to have a DCP workshop in Nairobi at some point. I hope it's 2011 again. Of course, we'll continue with the students' activities, more public outreach activities, hopefully this time in Turkana, which is really rural Kenya. I've always wanted to do a star party with artists to see how they'll communicate astronomy to the public. More university partnerships, and eventually partnership with Patrick Miller and the Isaac program. I know it's going to work in Kenya, and I just want to make sure by the time we start the program, everything is well set. These are our partners and sponsors. from Kenya and around, what's happening in Africa. We recently formed the African Astronomical Society. Why we have the African Astronomical Society? We have very few astronomers in Africa. And so it doesn't make sense to have an astronomical society in a country when you're only 10 or 2 astronomers, or none for that matter. So African Astronomical Society was launched in April of this year during the International Astronomical Union regional meeting in South Africa that was for Africa and Middle East countries. And the role of this society is to work with professional astronomers in the continent and to try and increase the number of professional astronomers in the country and support them in the continent, And I think GTTP will be a very good partner of African Astronomical Society in that we can work with teachers, young students who've gotten into astronomy in universities, and also young students in school who eventually can become astronomers by inspiring them. We also have the Office of Astronomy for Development, which is now in South Africa. It was also launched in April. It's an office from the International Astronomical Union, and basically the office is supposed to work with developing countries and promote astronomy. The head of the office is Kevin Govender, who has been part of Global Hands on Universe, and we will try to work with him to try and get more participants in Africa and South Africa. There are only a few countries in Africa that I know, maybe the list is not complete, that have telescopes. South Africa, Mauritius, Namibia, Nigeria, and I'm not sure about the numbers in North Africa. And the thing with South Africa is opening its doors to everyone in Africa to use their telescopes, to use their facilities, to go to their institutions and study on scholarship programs. So South Africa is a very strong country for Africa. And what we've tried to do is create regional nodes in Africa with astronomy. So Kenya is a regional node for East Africa. Nigeria is a regional node for West Africa. I'm not sure what the regional node for South Africa is, but South Africa, of course, is a regional node for South Africa, for Southern Africa. Plans are underway to build telescopes in Kenya and Ethiopia. Kenya, the government is planning to build a radio telescope. And we need to have Kenyan astronomers who are going to work in that telescope. And we'll also invite astronomers from outside. All our friends should be able to come and use the telescope. We have countries that offer astronomy. South Africa has a PhD program, has many PhD programs in astronomy, up to PhD level, that are open with bursaries to other countries. Nigeria, Ethiopia, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya also have programs. This is just a picture of, sorry, the giraffe is looking the other way around. A picture of I had to do something controversial. So this is Africa. This is my country. This is some of the positive stuff we have in Africa. And you guys should come and have a safari, drive through, visit schools. There are schools in the people who live amongst the wild animals. This is a community in Kenya, and someone asked me yesterday what the education system is like, and women, the girl child in education. And in this community, traditionally, the girls are married off at 8 years old to men as old as 60. So it's really sad. And 5, 6 wives, and so I need to reach out to communities like this one and use astronomy. So I know I still have a huge role. And I forgot to mention that I'm more like the Education and Public Outreach person for African Astronomical Society. And this is tough, going out to communities. We need to find a way, even within the continent, to reach out to people like this where they're not reaching out. And that's the difference in Kenya. In my previous slides, I've showed you countries, I mean, a place where students have computers and everything, but as we move forward, there are really poor areas in Kenya that need education and science. And I think that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
Any questions?
You've left us speechless.
I need some questions.
You know, it's such an honor to work with you, Susan. You know, I think, you know, your skill, your heart, your attributes are just such a gift to all of us. I think, I think at the first Provence meeting and, how you engaged us and you kind of taught us how to appropriately work with you and Africa. And I just look forward to many years of collaboration and cooperation, if you're open to it. But again, I think I speak for GHOU and say we're all behind you 1,000%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I have a question. I have many questions, but I want to make a suggestion. Since you're in Africa and very close to Spain, I want to invite you to come and visit us, and I can help organize that you speak to groups of students and teachers if you'd like. We'll be very honored.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you had said that you had recently came to the United States, and I'm wondering, are you pursuing a PhD, or how long do you plan to be here for? If you don't.
I had to cut my story. I got into astronomy, and then I got a scholarship to do a master's in astronomy. I'm not yet done because I'm struggling to finish my thesis, and then I'll be done with my master's. I don't know if I want to do a PhD in astronomy or just do something in science education. And I'm torn between, because I want my continent to know how powerful science is and how they can use science to move from where they are today. And it will take time, but I feel it's a worth it. So either way, astronomy or science, whichever I decide to go, will have a positive, I think, influence in outreach in Africa. So I'm not doing a PhD in the US, and I'm here to do more outreach. I mean, research in astronomy. I'm here with helping Tata for a few more months in Berkeley, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you there.
Yes. How many languages are involved in the territory you are writing on?
I forgot to mention again.
What was the question?
How many languages?
How many languages? I forgot to mention again. I intended to say that in Africa, and I wish I had a map of Africa. We have the, I think, formal languages, if I may use. Kenya speaks English as a formal language. So everyone in Kenya speaks like me, if they've had formal education. And we have countries that are French speaking, Portuguese speaking, and I think that's it in Africa. And Spanish speaking. So Rosa, for example, has worked with a few countries like Mozambique, which I need to include in my Africa Hands-on Universe network and learn more about the activities and stuff like that. And Roger has also worked with a few French African-speaking countries. I think in Algeria, Roger? Yeah, and Morocco, of course, I've met her son, who I believe is doing a splendid job in Morocco.
But do you know everything, or you did also the Spanish languages?
I
assume that this should be at a high level educated people using the colonial language.
Yeah,
But there must be local language.
Yeah, at least in Kenya, I can speak and say that in Kenya we have 42 tribes. No, the main tribes are 42. We have more than 42 tribes. This is a community called Maasai, which is very popular around the world. And in very rural, whatever areas they settle in, some people do not understand English. Our national language is Kiswahili. We also try to communicate with them in Kiswahili. If that doesn't work, we normally try to get a translator who will communicate to them in the local language. So not the whole of Africa or Kenya speaks one language and understands one language. It's true. So we've normally tried to get translators in areas where we can't communicate. And anyway, anytime we go to a community, we have to get permission from the leaders that we want to do stuff with the community and take pictures and things like that. And once we embrace them, we have a tribe behind us that are willing to translate for us and things like that. And that is very similar in other African countries. We have the language that is brought to us, and then we have our local languages.
Which fraction of the students of the teenager children in Africa are able to speak colonial language, English, French, or do you have a good fraction?
Which fraction?
Sure.
Okay, at least in Kenya, speak primary education. So I don't know the numbers, but most students get to go to school at least until the age of 12, 13, depending on the circumstances. And once they go to school, they have to learn English. Not all students can communicate very well in English, but they have an idea and might not be very confident speaking English. So
I need to interrupt here because it's time for our break in our program. Break from 10:30 until 11, and it's now past that.
Yeah,
so we'll have a break except, okay, go ahead.
I think Rich has kindly agreed. Now, let's see, Susan, you were usually at 2:45?
Pardon?
Your talk, this is the talk you were going to give at 3:45, right?
No, it was supposed to be at 10, and then it's still at 10.
Right, but then you won't be giving a talk this afternoon, right?
I don't think so, unless
Okay, so Rich has agreed to go for this afternoon so we can conserve number of minutes and speakers, but so Rich will go this afternoon, and then I think next speaker would be Donna, who we can't change at 11:30.
Okay, so we'll have a break from now until 11:30, or would you like, Donna, would you like to speak earlier?
Or Donna's on the internet.
Donna's on the internet, okay.
What if it is Tosh Honda?
Maybe we can do that.
Was not available.
Maybe, could we look at Toshi, make sure we have a 15-minute break and look at Toshi's PowerPoints for 15 minutes?
We can do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's not available by voice, but he does have, we do have his PowerPoint.
Okay, why don't we then take a 15-minute break and then come back and look at Toshi's PowerPoint.
Thank you. Please stand by.